Good morning and good afternoon, everyone, depending on your time zone. We are just going to give everyone a few seconds to join the session, then we'll run through some housekeeping and get started. Thank you. Awesome. I am going to go through some quick housekeeping notes before we kick it off today. So hi and hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar, Reduced Talent Acquisition Costs and Quicken Time to Fill with Bullhorn AI Matching. My name is Sarah, and I am a member of the marketing team here at Bullhorn. I wanted to just cover a few quick housekeeping items before we begin. Today's webinar will be recorded, and you will all be receiving a copy of the recording in your inbox within the next 24 hours. You will all be muted during today's presentation, but we really strongly encourage you to ask questions in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. We'll be answering questions throughout the session and get to as many as we can before the end of our 45-minute session today. Like I just said, we should wrap up in about 45 minutes, and I would like to welcome one of today's presenters, Laura, to kick it off for us. Take it away, Laura.
Thanks, Sarah. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Bullhorn AI Match webinar. I am Laura Bumby, and I am a member of the sales and strategy team here at Bullhorn. I specifically focus on our automation and AI and onboarding products. And I'm joined today by Matt Lavoie, one of our principal solutions consultants. Matt, give a wave. There we go. If we look at the agenda today, we're really excited to introduce you to Bullhorn AI Match. So we're going to speak through some of the features of the product today, or the add-on today, before Matt walks you through a live demo. And you'll be able to see how the product works and how you can incorporate it into your business. And then we're going to wrap up. So if we take a look at the three pillars of automation, you've likely heard us before speak about these three pillars. The first pillar is productivity, right? And this is maximizing the efficiency of your teams, driving behaviors, and doing the right action at the right time. We also have the engagement pillar, which is connecting with candidates and developing their trust, meeting them where they want to be met and how they want to be met. So whether this is text or email or chat. And then finally, we have the data health pillar. So making sure your database is up to date. It's always up to date, and that we're working with clean data. Today, we're going to focus specifically on the productivity and engagement pieces and how you're going to be able to utilize our latest features of Bullhorn Automation, which is AI Match, to achieve this. But before we get into that, I want to set the scene, and I want to run through the significant revolutions we've seen in recruitment. So the first one was telephone and fax, right? This was, getting a candidate's resume or CV sent to you by fax, or getting a job order from a client sent to you by fax. This is crucial in development from communication standpoint for recruitment industry, being able to send information at a moment's notice, and it really brought speed to the game. The second revolution was computers and servers, right? So now we're getting that information, but now we can store it. We can store it in a digital fashion. We can make that information easy to record, but it also allowed us to really update that information and keep track of it far more simply than when we had pen and paper. The third revolution, software as a service. This is where Bullhorn came onto the scene over 20 years ago. It accelerated the adoption of computers and also allowed recruitment teams and businesses to access the same data anywhere. It allowed us to access that data anytime, and it was a lot more simple for recruitment businesses to have information available at their fingertips. This is also where we saw a huge explosion of growth in the recruitment industry because businesses are able to scale more quickly and train and get their teams up and running. So these first three revolutions, they made everything more simple, but they didn't remove those tasks, right? They didn't remove all the tasks that us recruiters had to do. So this is where automation and AI come in. We are in the midst of this revolution right now. We're in the thick of it. And with automation and AI, we can now replicate or replace these tasks and actions altogether. So in a sense, we're taking tasks out of the hands of recruiters to make life easier and to free up time and really allow them to get back to what they do best, right? The personable aspects of recruitment that's really adding value for candidates. We can also now drive behaviors that we know are successful to achieve even more. So up until now, recruitment has relied a lot on manual processes, but with automation AI, we can capitalize on that. So when I say we're in the midst of this right now, this is 5 years of Bullhorn automation growth, right? In 2017, we only had 1 million automated actions on the Bullhorn platform. In 2021, we had over 500 million. Next year, or this year in 2022, we're projecting that to double to over 1.2 billion automated actions within Bullhorn automation, which again, we're right in the middle of this revolution. So this is really exciting. And you can just see, over the last 5 and now 6 years, what has been happening in our industry. If we look at the adoption life cycle, again, we're at a crucial time, right? We're in this early majority phase. If you're not yet using automation and you're on this call, this couldn't be a better time to start. In the first phase, you can get ahead of the market. You can have those early advantages and create strategies around automation. If you're not acting now, there are impacts to that, right? In the late majorities, when all your competitors are going to be on the technology, you're going to have lost that competitive advantage, and eventually you're going to be playing catch up. But everything you know about automation and AI isn't out there right now, right? This is where Bullhorn is consistently evolving and developing for your businesses. And this is why today we're really excited to introduce you to AI Match. So what is AI Match, you ask? Well, AI Matching evaluates your jobs, your candidates. It accesses millions of data points to automatically find the best fit. So we use machine learning from hundreds of millions of Bullhorn candidates, Bullhorn jobs, submissions, placements, and then we semantically match the score and match candidates to job records and jobs to candidates to make those, we have candidates matching to jobs matching to candidates, and it's all based on those historical placements that are in the Bullhorn system. So what this might look like is, let's say Bullhorn's machine learning model is able to determine, hey, we have a job posting that's just come in for Java developer. We can now understand that that is a semantically closer match to a candidate with a position title of a software engineer rather than to a candidate with a position of the title of, let's say, human resources manager, for example. So with that being said, our AI matching service has 2 features for customers to improve how they match candidates and jobs together. And again, this is all part of Bullhorn automation, right? So the first feature is AI Job Match. So AI Job Match is going to engage candidates by providing them with the best match jobs based on their location, their skills, their experience. And we're going to be able to improve engagement by suggesting jobs that are a good fit for them. So if we think about the current shortage of talent, the difficulties acquiring candidates, this is going to be ideal for attracting and engaging candidates to your agency, to your business, and help to provide an incredible customer experience that's going to help you retain and redeploy your talent. So if we take a look, that can be a targeted acquisition campaign, right? Adding value to outbound marketing efforts, we can include match jobs that will really be a call to action for candidates. Come click on this job, right? We can add suggestion jobs into any of these communications and then track those interactions by links or opens. You can focus on candidates that are showing signs of becoming active, that are engaging with your communication, while also providing a layer of personalization that's providing a great experience as well. We can also keep silver medalists engaged. So if we include match jobs and rejection messaging, think about it. We've put all those efforts into those candidates. They've maybe made it to the final stage of an interview process and just weren't selected. That's still a great candidate, right? So now we can include match jobs after a phone call and rejection messaging, providing a layer of positivity that's really going to keep candidates engaged. These silver medalists are really also crucial in cutting your acquisition costs, as they're already active, they're screened, they're vetted, and and your business is top of mind with them as well. And finally, we can nurture those on assignment. So making sure that we're keeping contractors on assignment, engaged with their agency. This is critical for redeployment, right? Especially when we're coming to the end of the contract. I've worked with businesses before where we have, 200 or 300 contractors about to come off assignment, and we can look in the system and see that they haven't even been contacted in 60, 80, 90 days. So now we can send an automated message to those contractors or to those on assignment, and send roles that could be of future interest, right? Keeping them engaged, making sure that we're top of mind for the next opportunity. So the second feature of AI matching is our AI auto match. So AI auto match is focused on the recruiter. So if we think about AI job match, it's focused on the experience of the candidate. AI auto match is focused on the recruiter and boosting recruiter productivity. So this is going to aid recruiters by automatically matching a list of best candidates to new jobs that are obtained. So it's going to reduce manual searching for recruiters, and this also can be combined with automated outreach, just like the job match. So think about if a recruiter has a job order that is assigned to them, we're now able to automate the process of matching candidates to those jobs. So this is going to enable recruiters to speed up their time to fill, and again, focus on activities that are going to bring the most value to your agency and to your candidates, as well as your clients, right? So if we think about optimizing the talent in our ATS, by using AI auto match, we can now maximize the talent that's already available and use the matching algorithm to pull the best candidates that you already have and reduce the reliance on external resources to find candidates. We can also reduce manual search. So by automating candidate search for recruiters, you speed up, again, time to fill by removing that time-consuming manual stage of the process. And then we can also automate pre-screening, right? So let's say we have matched that candidate to that job, we sent out initial interest, we can now, if that candidate is interested, we can now pre-screen them, right? We can send them a survey, we can have a chat with them, and make sure that we kind of take this admin-heavy process by automating it and giving your recruiters more time to focus on candidates that are further along in the hiring process, which offers a lot of valuable consultative guidance, ensures candidates may be a good, that candidates have a, later in the process, are closer and quicker to jobs. So if we think about all of that, from the benefits of AI auto match, we have the ability now to take away all these time-consuming early stage work processes of the hiring process. So on the left-hand side there, you can see these are some of the things that AI auto match can impact. And on the right-hand side are the traditional things that recruiters want to be focused on. But the exciting part of this is that as an agency, you're actually going to have the ability to choose how much you automate beyond that initial matching, right? So if you just want to say, let's just automate searching candidates' profiles, and you want all the other components that are on the screen right now to be recruiter focused, we can do that. So it's really up to you to decide how you're driving your strategy, how you're just driving your best practices, but which, regardless of how much you decide to automate, AI auto match is really going to allow recruiters to focus on the incredible customer experience, providing that guidance that's going to accelerate your time to fill and reduce those talent acquisition costs. So if we think about how we are kicking this off, and as we get into the demo, I really want you guys to think of this from the recruiter standpoint of a new job order is being released, right? What that looks like for the recruiter, how it's going to feel like to have candidates that are coming directly to you. And Matt's going to kick that off here in a second, and as we walk through the live demonstration.
Thanks so much, Laura. And I'll just remind everybody in the audience to feel free to ask any questions in the Q&A, and we'll monitor those throughout. So Laura had brought up a really valuable point here of how does automation allow your recruiters to not only be more productive, but also to optimize their time and effort. So in the scenario where a job order has been released, and this could have been a job order that's come in via Bullhorn automation of a VMS order coming right into the system. It could have been one that your account managers are working with a client and inputted those details. Now, the key thing here is once we've assigned a recruiter in a situation where Matt Lavoie might be the recruiter who's assigned to this position, giving all of the pertinent details of that job order. So if there are specific screening questions here, so if I'm the recruiter and I want to start to reach out to my pool of talent, I can quickly see all of the details on that and even hyperlink that right over to my Bullhorn. But as we think of the auto match that's happening, Bullhorn as an automation engine and platform can start to look at that rich data in the system and match a pool of candidates for this position. So here as a recruiter, not only do I have a valuable list to work off of, I also have the ability to dive right into their profile in Bullhorn, and I can give feedback back to that AI algorithm and that machine learning. That's going to provide us with a way to continuously learn, continuously have the right tools at our fingertips. This is just one way, as Laura mentioned, in terms of how somebody might start that recruiting process. But when we think of automation, automation can also drive behavior right in Bullhorn. So being able to not only furnish that list and that pool of talent, but giving that recruiter and that account manager all that centralized visibility right into Bullhorn. So not only have those individuals been presented with a call to action to our recruiter to take action on it, but we've automatically established those as candidates that have been matched to this position. So you think about time to fill. In a matter of seconds here, we've had an order released, we've leveraged AI, and our recruiter now has the ability to come in here and say, you know what, Sarah is a great fit for this. I'm going to start those efforts and reach out to her. Now, within Bullhorn, native Bullhorn, you also have the ability to dive into Sarah's profile to be able to find matching candidates on your own and conduct those really in-depth searches. That might identify additional talent that you want to engage in automation, or your recruiters do. In that scenario, think about the other side of the equation here. We just saw auto match where a job has been matched and presented candidates to a recruiter. But what happens on the flip side where you have a pool of talent out there? That pool of talent could be individuals that have been pre-screened. They could be people coming off assignments. They could be new people that are applicants to your system. Having the ability now to think about that flip side. How do we match jobs to candidates? So while I'm a recruiter making those phone calls on those 7 individuals, we also have automation that can outreach this pool of talent. This talent here is receiving it via email. We can engage them via text if that is their preferred mechanism of communication. Driving behavior to see, here's a position that we found that is interesting to you, giving that ability for that person to quickly engage. Am I interested in this position? And depending on their response here, we're going to drive them right to land on our website here, where they can then take advantage of all of the unique components of looking at other positions, but we also have the ability to allow those pre-screening questions to really identify who might be a best fit for this. So asking those 5 or 6 pre-screening questions and being able to leverage automation to drive behavior based upon those. Maybe a recruiter might have to sell a little bit of the overtime component, the once a month travel, and then giving that candidate the ability to actually self-direct when they're interested in speaking with that recruiter. So thinking about that experience, not only can automation monitor that behavior, let you know when clicks, when calls to action are necessary, but it can also drive user adoption within Bullhorn. So you think back to that very first email that we started our webinar with. So we started our webinar taking a look at the email with our auto matches, right? So as the recruiter comes in, they might give feedback, but let's take this to another step in the process. we know that we're pre-screening people and we're using automation to do that. Well, what if AI can now furnish a list right to us as a recruiter? And we can say, you know what, based upon that pre-qualified list, we actually automated some engagement here. We've identified the individuals that might be the best fit for this in driving that short list right in Bullhorn. So in this case, perhaps we're working with a top tier client. We want to be able to present the best possible candidate. Well, just like we had seen in Bullhorn earlier, where we're going to drive those auto matches, as we navigate back to our Bullhorn, what we're going to see right on that job order profile is those individuals that were screened, that passed all of those qualification questions, are now identified as a short list of talent. The individual who might have said, you know what, I'm not interested in this position, they're going to select that, and we're going to be able to allow automation to perhaps put them in a new campaign, a new outreach, to be able to identify further skills and positions that they're interested in. We're also going to take a look in a second as to where a recruiter might have visibility into what's happening kind of behind the scenes with automation. And then we're going to take a look at those individuals that might have been rejected. And that might just be a status in our system. These could be individuals that failed to pass the screening questions, and giving that recruiter or manager visibility to everybody who responded to those questions and how they answered those questions. We typically see that delivered via an email on a cadence of a daily, weekly, or so on basis. Now, you think about all of these components here, we've put time back into our recruiter's hand. In Bullhorn, that recruiter might take a job order, and they might go in and say, I want to be able to identify or find people that are also good fits for this position. When they identify those individuals, now that we have automation and engagement, Bullhorn has the capability of assigning a level of engagement score right to that recruiter's dashboard. So not only looking at the people that might be a good fit from a skills perspective, but who are those people that are engaged, and how do we further take advantage of those relationships with engagement to be able to gather more information, to be able to ask for referrals, to be able to really put all of that time in our recruiters' hands to make the most meaningful connectivities. Now, when a recruiter wants to look at an individual's profile, they'll also see that engagement score right on their profile. They'll have further insight into what their behavior and activity is, from pages that they're viewing to specific jobs that they might be looking at. And then we'll also be able to take a look at specific orders that have been released and how good of a fit is that person to those positions. So having that at their fingertips is only going to optimize that level of engagement and move somebody from a prospect all the way to placement and redeployment. So as we think about the process that we've looked at today, we've seen a couple of different areas of automation. We've seen a job order be released, and we saw within automation that job order start to identify what that job was based upon skill set, qualifications needed for that job. And we saw automation take advantage by matching a pool of candidates. Now, this automation can be delivered not only to match based upon areas like location, skills, categories, it can also take advantage of all of the unique searches that your recruiters are doing. So if they're saving searches, they're saving specific activities, or want to identify people, all of that automation can do that. And then we saw that notification, the internal notification, and then perhaps utilizing automation to update our job and make sure that that visibility on that job is firsthand at that recruiter's fingertips. Now, what you might be asking yourself is, well, how does Bullhorn learn from automation? How does it get better with automation, et cetera? So there are ways, and we saw this earlier. We saw that hyperlink where a recruiter can give visibility right back. So as a recruiter works through, they can identify feedback based upon their experience. This is going to help with that machine learning, going to help drive efficiency and adoption. It's also going to help as you scale and grow and add on new staff to be able to identify where the best areas of engagement and matching are. So when we look at the matching, Bullhorn's automation engine allows you, and I mentioned this earlier, to identify a pool of what are those specific matches that are we looking for. How can we throttle that? Are we looking for people that are superb matches? Are we looking for people that are just okay fits? And maybe in a situation, in this case, where we have to travel once a month to an office, we wanted to identify people that were in a specific radius. As I mentioned, we can leverage recruiters' best practices and leveraging their predefined list or criteria. And then as that search is complete, we saw that ability to auto match those individuals to a position and the ability to identify or even expand outside of that search should we not have people within the database that meet that qualification at 90%. As you think about the different ways that automation might be built, Bullhorn is going to give you the ability to not only identify those areas that will be built, but also identify some of the key features and benefits that might be important to you. I'm going to transition back to my colleague, Laura, who's going to take us home here, and we'll open it up for Q&A in a minute or two.
Thanks, Matt. So thanks for walking us through that and showing us some of the great features there from an AI match and job match component. So just to kind of recap there, with these two features, we can now match candidates, right? So we're going to find the best candidates for jobs and vice versa. We're able to automate actions off the back of that. So remember, these are features of our Bullhorn automation product. It's formerly known as Herefish. So with these matches, we can now automate actions off the back. We can send a list of candidates to a recruiter for a job. We can email or text a matched candidate to gauge interest and start to engage with them. We can also, it's also Bullhorn trained AI, right? There are hundreds of millions of records in Bullhorn, and we're using all of that to inform and train and help the machine learning improve. So we're constantly going to be doing that. Additionally, there's the option for job card view. So if you guys use those, and Matt kind of showed you a little glimpse of that, but being able to view the test match or 10, kind of best candidates on a job. And obviously there's some flexible rules, right? So we can configure to your needs for the AI match. If we look at, again, just kind of like a recap of the benefits, if we move on from the features, increased recruiter productivity is something you hear us talk about all the time, right? But with this, we're going to remove that low value, those manual activities, and empower those recruiters to focus on candidates and do more within the same time frame. So if we think about really, that job order comes in, that recruiter is able to, we can immediately send an automated message out to candidates saying, hey, are you interested in this job? Maybe we even ask them pre-screening questions. That recruiter gets to the desk the next day and they have a list of candidates who've not only been matched to that job, but they've also been pre-screened if you want that to be an option as well. So again, improving that recruiter productivity. So it's really going to feel like from a recruiter standpoint that candidates are actually coming to them, but these are all candidates that are in your database, right? So we're also going to be able to reduce that candidate acquisition cost. We're going to optimize the talent that is in our existing database. We're going to be able to attract and engage those new candidates without the over-reliance on other resources and reducing that recruiter time to fill or time to hire. Additionally, if we look at how we get AI matching, so again, I mentioned it before, but some of you guys will already know that we've rebranded Herefish, which we acquired a few years ago, to Bullhorn Automation. We did this because automation is informing everything we do here at Bullhorn, right? So we really wanted to emphasize its full integration into the suite of Bullhorn products and solutions. So part of this is that we have two versions of Bullhorn automation. Firstly, we have the corporate edition, which is simply just a rename of the pre-existing HereFish solution and includes the first feature that we covered, which is that job match. So that's the candidate perspective of jobs being matched to candidates. The second edition we have launched is Bullhorn Automation Enterprise Edition. This is going to have all the features of corporate edition, but it's going to include our advanced talent functionality that you saw with the AI match. So as always, if you guys have any questions or want to find out more, just contact your account manager. They're going to be happy to discuss further and are happy to have that conversation with you. So let's see, I'm going to hop in. I think we have a few minutes left, so I can hop into some of the questions here. I know we had a great question. Someone asked if the AI auto match is for recruiters finding matching candidates option under actions when it's in the job, or is it more advanced? And so, like I said, this really is a feature of Bullhorn automation. I think I kind of misspoke at the beginning as well because I said products, but it is a feature of Bullhorn automation, right? And so the matching process is going to be automatic once a job order is assigned to a recruiter. So again, it's not going to be just under the job in the ATS. We also had a great question of what criteria or fields are used to match the candidates to the rec. So this is a job match piece. So looking at title, we're looking at location, we're looking at category. Those are all going to be used. Let's see. Just looking through some more questions here. Matt, here's a question for you. It says, how do we get the job card to show up the match candidates as described? So if we think about the job cards in the ATS.
Yeah, so how we're going to get that to set up is we're going to map that right to one of your unique workflow icons. And that's typically where we see our customers leveraging that. It's just one way of doing it, but there's typically probably part of your process that you want those individuals to then show up. And then as we saw through the demo, there might be specific statuses related to that candidate associated with that particular job that you want updated. So if they're pre-screened and those pre-screened questions result in a fail, you might have that as a rejected status as we had, or we might move them along to a shortlist status. So that's one of the benefits of this tool, is the incredible flexibility and configurability of it. There are blueprints and best practices that we can give you from a template, but it's also designed to meet your unique rules and needs as a staffing firm.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt. We also had a question of when it's available. It's available now. So like we said, get in touch with your account manager to learn more. And again, just depending on what edition of Bullhorn automation that you have would determine which of the features of this you would have access to. Let's see. Someone said, logged in late, can you summarize the difference between AI job match versus the AI auto match? Yeah, great question. So there's a lot of matching, right? The job match, the way I like to think of it is that the job match is for the candidate, right? So a candidate receiving matches to jobs, whether that is via email or because we've included them in an automation campaign. The auto match is going to be for your recruiter. So this is a recruiter getting a job, having a job order assigned to them. And from that job order, our AI auto match machine learning is going to be matching candidates to that job for the recruiter's benefit. And then again, there's many different automation strategies that you can have off the back of that. So whether you want to immediately message those candidates who have been matched to say, hey, are you interested in this role? Again, through Bullhorn automation, if they respond yes to that, we can then ask them a few questions. We could send them a survey to get even more in depth about when you're available or what kind of compensation are you looking for. So that's how I think the job match is for candidates. So I'm a candidate. Maybe I've applied to a job that I haven't been brought forward for. I get matched more jobs. Auto match is going to be for the recruitment teams. Let's see, just going through some of these questions. And if we don't have time to get to your question today, we'll definitely get back to you kind of after this. I'm just looking for. Let's see. Answer that one. Sorry, just working through some of these. Do candidate and job records need to follow a certain template in order for this tool to work best, or will it work for pre-existing records in Bullhorn? So good question. So we can match on a lot of different data. So if you have a candidate that maybe just has a job title, we can use criteria there. Or if you have a candidate that has a myriad of data points that are filled out, we can use a lot of data or a little data or anywhere in between. So we're matching on a lot of different criteria there. So we don't need to have a specific template to our job records or our candidate records in order for this to work. Great question. And I think that will probably bring us to time. Matt, did you have anything else you wanted to add in before we said goodbye to everyone?
Thank you, everybody, for attending. Definitely appreciate everybody's attentiveness.
Yep, thanks everyone. We appreciate your time. Like I said, if we didn't get to your question, we do have a couple of other questions here, but if we, I'm just conscious of time. So if we didn't get to your question today or on the call, we'll definitely follow back up to you, Matt or myself, or someone from our team will follow back up to you. And like I said, if you're interested, please go ahead and speak to your account manager and we'll have a conversation. All right, thanks everybody and have a great day.